Hello and welcome to the Evan Fournier episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 94, which is in honor of him being the best player to ever wear the jersey number 94. Recording this one on the evening of Friday, July 26th in the year of our Lord 2024. My name is Logan Wortman, and as usual, I am joined by my cheerful co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the Evan Fournier episode?
It was nice. Usually when we get up to these high numbers, it's got to be a throwback or an obscure name. I don't want to say the names are obscure, but there's just some kind of off-the-wall wild card ones. But Evan Fournier, honestly, pretty topical considering today was the opening ceremonies in Paris. He is a Frenchman. I don't know if he's from Paris or a suburb of Paris, but
I think he's from whatever 94, like the parish or county of France is numbered 94, because that's the reason he wore that jersey number with the Nuggets and with Boston.
Interessante. The more you know.
Yeah. So that really that ties it all together, honestly, for this intro.
It does. Honestly, the fun facts. Ooh. Oh, that's his parents' name. I thought he was from a town that was like Merriam Fournier, and I'm like, that's crazy. He's from Saint Maurice. Or Saint Maurice. Is that what they say it in France? I feel like they just cut N-words early.
Yeah, they kind of do that quite a bit. So it's a pretty good bet, honestly.
That's where he's from in France, and that's exciting.
It's basically Paris. I'm looking at it on a map.
It's like a suburb or just outside of a suburb?
It's pretty square. It's really close to the middle of, like, there's a lot of suburbs even outside of it, you know?
Okay.
It's a big part of the web, but
so
it's pretty
like
close
Gary,
to
Indiana to Chicago.
I would say more like La Vista to Omaha.
Okay.
Because I think Gary's kind of outside of Chicago,
the
isn't
city
it?
like never stops as it's going. That's like the whole thing. It feels like you're in town the whole way.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, though, but it is within the city, but it's on the outskirts. Whereas Saint Marie is like really surrounded by multiple layers of cities, even beyond it, that are in the Paris metro.
Okay.
Map theory here on the Hoop Theory Podcast.
Jeez Louise, there's so many rings to Paris.
Yeah, Paris is ginormous.
Lord. No wonder Germany got there so fast. It's like a quarter of France. Jeez Louise. Anyway.
Yeah, so I guess before we hop into our first topics to start this episode, everybody should be sure to go check out our Patreon and buy me a coffee if you want to support us. Want us to continue to use our creative minds and juices, then that would be much appreciated. That's patreon.com/hoop theory, as well as buymeacoffee.com/hoop theory. Those links are found in both the episode description and the show description, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Rate the show wherever you're watching or listening as well. Subscribe and follow the feed. And mailbag, hooptheory.mailbag@gmail.com. Check out all of those things. But yeah, without further ado, I think the first topic for today that I knew that would stir up some emotion with Jacob would be the Embiid quotes that have been going off recently. He's just firing them off one after the other. What is it evoked in you, I guess?
If I was in like a Call of Duty lobby, I would say mad 'cause bad. Like, okay, for those that don't know, Joel Embiid has gone on a reign of terror, not on a basketball court. He's looked like a bum on a basketball court. Mm-hmm. He decided to go on podcasts where the second best thing he does is talking, which he's very good at, and riling me up, and just like start just talking mad crap at the Celtics, and then Jason Tatum specifically. And some of the questions like kind of like pushed him into that direction, which that's whatever. They're rivals. That's supposed to happen. But it's also like, hey, Joel, how about you figure out how to not suck in FIBA rules first? Mm-hmm. Because if we were to like do like a running tally list and like, oh, before we go to Paris, let's cut and replace the worst player on our team, Joel Embiid, they would cut him 3 times. He's been that bad in minimal minutes. Like if he had like not very many minutes and then he like looked, but like he was in like some, and then Anthony Davis goes in, we get this nice solid looking run going almost no matter what. Let's see if Joel can get in there and roll off that momentum. Nope, straight back to the ground. Garbage. Offense is poop in the pooper.
Defense is even worse, honestly.
Defense is, which I'm not going to like, that's fine. Like, I would almost expect that. Like, Anthony Davis is such a defensive.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy that, like, no one will remember for his defensive prowess, but they should.
Who?
Like, in like 20 years, kids won't remember AD for being that guy on defense, and they should. Because of how good he is defensive. He doesn't have a DPOY. He doesn't have any of that stuff.
He you know what I mean? Arguably could, but yeah.
He should. I don't think you'd even need to say could. I think you could say should. A different, not preposition, whatever that grammar word is.
I don't know, honestly.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, and he shoulda. Anyway, Joel Embiid's quote. I'm not going to do a voice. I thought about it, but I'm not going to do a voice. If I went 5 for 20... we would get blown out, in referring to Jason Tatum's super team. Mr. Joel Embiid, I think you're confusing a properly ran organization to whatever the that poverty 76ers franchise is. Because if you would like to know, Joel Embiid, you know who your teammates could be? Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. You could have been on the same team, but because your front office sucks, that's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, like, Celtics went out, they got pieces. But you know who the best pieces on the Celtics were? Homegrown and developed the Jays.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else was signed. But that's, like, I would argue that, like, Derek White has made a jump and is, like, halfway grown. Not homegrown, but, like, developed under the Celtics umbrella for sure.
Of course, yeah.
And then, obviously, Drew, already a dog. KP, already a dog. Doesn't matter. But why, Joel, did you have to wait until this year to make this statement when the Celtics have been your actual father on the basketball court literally any time in the postseason? And most, not always in the regular season. Sometimes the Sixers would get the series in the regular season. But in the second round of the playoffs, Lucky's rolling every single time.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you been to the Eastern Conference Finals, Joel Embiid?
0.
As many times as Deuce Tatum, as many times as Dylan Brooks, as many times I could go through a list of a comically large number of people, and my name would be on that list. So stop just chirping and talking. You had James Harden before the fall off started, maybe right when it started. You had a very good Tyree. Like, you have had teams built around you, and you know what's always came up short? Your health, which is by proxy, you. So if you want to start, like, it's fine, but you're on Team USA, your teammates, wait to talk crap until after the Olympics at least. And if you're going to talk crap, don't look like a high school basketball player that got lost in a college gym. You look like you are lost, you are unplayable, and if you continue to start, Steve Kerr doesn't know ball. Okay, I think I got it out. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I know that there was, like, a lot of over-the-top fanness in there, but if you, like, dial back the irrationalness of it, like 20%, I think there was truth in there somewhere.
I think there was quite a bit of truth in there, to be honest.
Is that about what you expected would happen? Is that in the ballpark of? Yeah.
I think that's kind of how it played out in my mind. But yeah, Embiid has definitely struggled, like you said. And for some reason, I guess he's just been doing interviews while he's been with Team USA.
But okay, and this is the thing. I don't know if they're like recorded earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Released.
Yeah.
I don't know the timing of anything, but it's also, regardless, it's just irritating to me.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the other Jason Tatum slander that has been, like, it just seems weird that out of all the players on the Celtics, Jason Tatum's the one getting personally attacked. It just feels weird.
Yeah, I think it's because people don't like that. People claim he's the best player. You know, and so then people the microscope is just very dialed in on him.
And this is also, I don't know any of the Celtics players, but I feel like everybody in the Celtics organization currently, I think it's just a bunch of like kind of like net neutral, not bad dudes. Like there's no one where you're like, okay, that might be a bad guy. Like, you go down the list.
Guy, I guess.
Like, there's some people that have, like, skeletons in their closet, and you're like, oh, well, maybe. Nobody in the, like, Joe Mazzulla? Nope. JT? Nope. JB? Nope. KP? Nope. Drew? Nope. Derek White? Nope. I don't know if maybe, like, Al? Absolutely not. Al could qualify for sainthood. Honestly, Joe Mazzulla could go to seminary and become a priest, and I would not bat an eye. I would be like, that feels right. But he would still coach. He would find a way. The little crazy guy.
Didn't he get charged or at least accused of like domestic violence when he was in college or something like that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Kobe raped someone, but people don't talk about that.
Exactly. That's it was like a story kind of like that. I think it was brought up by Malika Andrews when he first got hired because
they went from Ime
to like to a guy that has a similar accusation or something.
Now that you bring it up, I for sure totally remember that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's anything more than an accusation, I guess. I haven't looked into it.
Well, I feel like, I mean, that's also where it's tough because there's like some accusations that are literally just like, I'm saying things to say things.
Yeah, like the Terrence Shannon stuff.
Yeah, which, glad he's balling out. I'm glad that he looked good because I had to watch him booty ball the crap out of Nebraska in the Big Ten semifinals, and I got very angry. I'm glad that it does not appear that it will be inhibiting his NBA. Like, I would not be shocked if he is on seeing real minutes with the T-Wolves, and they are a very good team. Obviously, they're a very good team. They were right there. Maybe take some, I don't know how they'd shuffle things around, but I would not be surprised if he cracks their top 10 in terms of rotationally.
Point guard for them. To be honest, he could.
Especially if there's any kind of issues with the aging Mike Conley where there's more point guard minutes available. Anyway, that's not a rabbit hole we needed to go down. That was kind of out of the walls and nowhere. But it just seems, I'm just irritated by the slander, and you're just mad that your team is not the 2024 NBA champions. Champions of the world, one might say.
Yeah.
Pause. Noah Lyles. Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles is he's a Syracuse legend.
Kentucky. Trying to think of who you're thinking.
Trevor Lydon.
Tyler Lydon.
That's Tyler Lydon. I'm just mixing people up. Does he got a brother named Trevor, maybe?
I have no idea. But he is a white guy, Tyler Lydon.
Also, why do parents do that?
What?
I feel like there's like a lot of people were like, oh, here's Trevor and Terrence. Here's Jason and John. Here's Billy and Brittany. Like, I feel like there's a lot of that in the world.
It seems just weird. Alliterations?
Yeah, because what's that giant family in Arkansas? There's like 20 of them.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Duggars, they're all J's, I think.
Duggars?
It's like 18 kids accounting.
That's in Arkansas?
They had another one.
I thought they were in like Utah or something, but...
No, they are not Mormon. They are...
Catholic? Oh, really? Those are the first two guesses.
There's a whole documentary on it.
Big family.
Anyway, gosh.
Were they like Seventh-day Adventists or whatever?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
There's got to be a religion somewhere.
I feel like I've heard about this before.
They are from Arkansas. Shout out. Nice
pull there. Are they from Little Rock?
They're from Springdale.
Yeah.
Independent Baptist.
Okay. I don't think that rings any bells of that I thought might ring. But anyways, getting on to other basketball stuff, I guess. Embiid was what we were talking about. That's how we opened up. But there was something that I remember people were making a big deal about that I can't remember now. I don't think it had anything to do with the Celtics. But there was a quote that people were, throwing around as like that he was saying something unfair, or I think it was about JJ Redick. He had a quote about JJ Redick, which I was like,
he's been on a tear.
But
he's been on a tear.
Why did people react to that as if it was like he just said that it's a tough job. Like, he's like, I'm surprised JJ wants to do it because it like coaches like he was talking about coaching in general. He wasn't talking about JJ like in specific or like the situation he went into in specific. He just said coaches that don't do super well right out of the gate tend to get fired pretty within the first couple of years. Like it's a tough job. Like I wouldn't want to do it, basically, is what he was saying.
Yeah, because it was like it was something along the lines of, that's a terrible situation. I don't know what he sees. I care about him and love him, but that's a terrible situation and a tough job to have. Like, there was not like
he was
JJ Redick is incompetent.
He was just talking about coaching in general, though. I don't think he was saying the Lakers situation.
I'm reading the quote. That's the only reason I know that I'm correct.
But does it say, like, even if you said the words that you just said, that doesn't mean he's talking about...
If I was him, I don't know if that's a perfect situation.
Yeah,
maybe
coaching.
He thinks it's a perfect situation. It's kind of a make or break situation because if you succeed, great, you're going to be coaching for years. Mm-hmm. If you don't succeed, those coaches are usually bound to be fired within a year or two.
Those coaches. Yeah. So, like,
talking about the Lakers.
That's an inference you're making, though. Like, he could just be talking about coaching in general, which is how I read it, because he's saying those coaches are the ones that he's not saying the Lakers coaches. Like, he himself has had a lot of coaches be fired. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I know, but he says, I don't know if that's a perfect situation.
Coaching.
But then in the same sentence, he says coaching later on. Like, he refers to coaching as a separate thing other than that's, which would be that's as in the situation that the Lakers are, that JJ Redick is walking into.
Okay. Regardless.
I'll try to, because I think it was the New York Times that did the interview.
Well, you just said it. Like, I think it.
That was it. But I was going to just try to find if I can find like more of it to give like the full.
Well, I mean, you can switch between using a preposition and
I am,
or a pronoun, not a preposition.
Like, the thing that makes me like almost positive it's the Lakers, if you don't succeed, those coaches are bound to be fired within a year or two.
Yeah. So why does that make it sound like he's talking about the Lakers specifically?
Because the Lakers coaches are fired after a year or two.
But isn't that way more true to be said just about like NBA coaching jobs in general? Especially in any situation that's expected to win.
You can believe what you want to believe, and I will believe what I think, but I am almost positive he is talking about the Lakers because that's how it reads to me.
But I think how he ends it is with saying, like, I wouldn't want to coach in general. Like, I wouldn't want to be a coach. I'm surprised.
I love him. I'm happy for him, but that's a tough job.
Yeah.
I don't see where you're coming from, but that's fine. We can agree to disagree.
All right. I guess. So you think that he's talking about the Lakers. And
I'm like 90% confident he's talking about the specific Lakers job and situation.
Okay. I mean,
I that's think how it reads to me the first time. And I didn't get why people were jumping down Joel Embiid's throat because it was like, I care about JJ. That's not a great thing to be walking into as a new coach. That sucks. That's a bad play, which I also said that's why outside of it being like the Lakers, that's not a job that you would want. Like, that's a less than ideal situation to walk into because of the expectations that are there and what you have to work with. Yes, you have the high end stuff with the AD and the LeBron, but like everything else, the West is harder than it's ever been. And if the expectation is to make this like solid run in the playoffs or just like be a playoff team perennially, I don't know how realistic that is with how insanely quick the West is getting better. Because the teams below you are all young and terrifying, and the teams above you
are not getting worse.
Are not getting worse unless you count the Warriors above them, where I think that age is just slowly chipping away at what the Warriors could do. But
which I wouldn't say they're above them.
But like, there's very few teams that I feel like are trending downward in the West.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers are one of them.
Might be one of them, yeah. I mean, they're not trending up. That's for sure.
Yes, they are. And with how fast all the other boats are rising, trending the same as almost the same as trending down.
Yeah.
Because of how good everybody else around them is getting. But no, the way that I read it is I thought he was referring to the Lakers job and all that stuff. This is the same interview where I believe he said that if I didn't get hurt, I would have been the GOAT.
So that one too is like, I think the question that was asked was, do you think you could be one of the best players of all time if you had a healthy career? And he was like, yeah, I'd like to think that. Like, I think I'm that good. Which I'm like, you can't. Are you going to expect somebody that is at that level? Like, we just saw him having a healthy season, having one of the best, literally one of the very best, arguably the best stretch of a season anyone's ever had.
Yeah.
So I feel like that guy has just about as much right as anyone should, and feeling like if they had repeated healthy shots at, playing their sport, doing their craft, feeling like they are the pinnacle of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's that controversial.
I think so. I think that I'm that talented. Obviously, you need to win championships. And to win championships, you need other guys. You can't do it all by yourself. And the thing that has stopped me all this years is just freak injuries, end quote. I don't think his injuries are freak injuries. I would probably wager that you are a 7 foot, potentially 7 foot plus person. You are very explosive in the way that you do a lot of things. And you've had knee problems. Normal when you're that big of a human. Also, you've had, he had one weird one. Was it his ankles?
He had a Jones fracture really early on, like why he missed like the first 2 seasons of his career. Which is
like
that's the injury that Bill Walton had that ended his career. By the way,
it's like a weird injury, but it's also like you're a big person. That's where they show up. Like if you were like Muggsy Bogues and got a Jones fracture, that's a different story. But you are a giant person. That's where it happens.
Yeah, Bill Walton had it. He had it. Like Joel Embiid had it. Zion. I think Ben Simmons had one. And I think Michael Jordan actually had one. That's when he was injured in his second year of his career that he tried to play through. But I think for smaller players, Jones fractures are much less.
KD, Zaire Smith.
Zaire Smith, huh?
The big one I know is Derrick Henry in the NFL, who's also just a giant human.
Yeah, I've heard that people who are carrying more weight, that's a bigger issue to recover from a Jones fracture than if it's somebody like KD or Michael Jordan, somebody that's slender.
Yeah, Kwame Brown, Glenn Davis, Ricky Davis, Reggie Evans, Paul Gasol, Brooke Lopez, Brian Scalabrine,
the White Mamba. But yeah,
Patty Mills. So there are some smaller people on here, but like, it's not like it's a nothing thing. Yeah.
So I guess I see what you mean by the term freak injury, because some people would take that just to mean that it's like it's a fluke, basically, like a synonym with fluke. And you're saying it's not a fluke because it's a very
it makes sense. Like the KP injury is not a freak injury. It's a weird injury for him to have, but because of what he is and how he is built as a human, that those types of things are just under more pressure than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it fits the bill for sense. A common case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though that injury itself specifically is like never happens. If it does happen, it's to someone with super giantly long, skinny legs where the tendons are already stretched to the max.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe he didn't mean freak as in like the way that I'm portraying it, but I don't know what other way to take it.
I think what he probably just means is like injuries that he can't really control, like is more what he means. But like, which if I agree with you, freak is not the best word to use there. Because I think it kind of implies that it's like, oh, that's just a coincidence, or that's just a bad luck, which I wouldn't say there's no bad luck with Joel Embiid's career. Obviously, it's just, it seems like it's a very consistent pattern of injuries. That's like, it's not just like it's fluky stuff happening. It's also that he's just injury prone,
Yeah. And some people in that, like, that is just what some people are.
And maybe I think there could be something to somebody can become injury prone because of one freak injury that did occur, and that sets down knocks down all the dominoes or whatever.
And there's nothing where you can heal yourself to stronger when it comes to like tendon and ligament injuries.
Yeah.
You're never better than where you were before.
Mm-hmm.
Bones, I think technically if they break, they can grow back stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But I know with tendons and stuff, that's it's always going to be second class. It's never going to be the same.
Yeah. In a vacuum, but because of you can improve other areas during your rehab.
Oh, because it's so, yeah.
That's happened a few times. And I feel like that's happening more and more as they get better and better at rehabbing those injuries. But the actual thing that was injured, though, will never be the same. You have to build up other muscles and other tendons to compensate,
Yeah.
So, I guess that can do it for the Joel Embiid stuff. That was a lengthy segment on him. So moving into some moves that have happened. We haven't really touched on many moves so far this offseason. Last episode was spent basically only on Team USA and Olympic stuff. So this episode, I definitely wanted to talk about what the Nuggets have done so far. Just today, it was officially announced that the Russell Westbrook deal has been made. He got traded from the Clippers to the Jazz for the second time now to the Jazz. Last time it was from the Lakers to the Jazz, where he got bought out and then signed with the Clippers. This time it was from the Clippers to the Jazz. He got bought out and now he's signing with the Nuggets, which was just a 2-year, $6.8 million deal with a player option on that second year. And I think last time I talked about this on air, I was very doom and gloom about it and was I really hope this doesn't happen. I'm much less that way now, but still I'm I don't feel awesome necessarily about the way this offseason has gone, but I definitely don't think that it's for sure just a big L. And I feel like there's definitely a chance later down the line, a year from now, looking back, I could be ultimately that was probably the best decision that could have been made. The fact that we got ourselves out of the second apron and allowed, basically gave these spots to the younger pieces on our roster that haven't had the opportunity to get, playing time and get development. Now, they're kind of thrust into those positions now. So you're just kind of banking on those guys filling those roles in a way that is satisfactory, I guess. But I do have pretty good confidence in Christian Brown being ready for a starting position in the NBA, filling in for that KCP role. I mean, I said it multiple times on this podcast in the playoffs last year, while we were being defeated by the Minnesota Timberwolves, that I was wanting Christian Brown to be the starter instead of KCP in that series. So now we're just getting that right off the bat. We're getting Vlatko Čančar back this season, which him being out all last year was a major thing to our bench that I feel like goes unnoticed or untalked about a lot, that he was a guy that could have been pretty big for us in spots as a backup to Aaron Gordon and even a small ball 5. Now we're getting him back. Dario Saric, we just signed him also. That's going to be the first real backup to Jokic that we've had that can really fill that Jokic role since we had Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins. So I'm excited for that. He's definitely a smaller version than Jokic. He's more of a small ball guy, but still he's able to, facilitate and play. Just he has the stereotypic Balkan player skill set. And he can stretch the floor. So
that whole area just kind of has it.
Yeah.
That's not sarcastic. It's weird. They just kind of do. And
It's their school of basketball, as they often refer to it. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. I think there were definitely some other avenues or other ways we could have gone this offseason. Instead of going for Russ, going and getting Tyus Jones as the backup ball handler for our second unit, or Gary Trent, even a guy who can be in the starting lineup or be as the backup ball handler. He can kind of fill both roles. Russ is a guy that I feel like can do that as well. And the more and more I've sat with this, the more and more I've talked myself into it, where it's like, I like the idea of having a backup to Jamal that is like somebody that can compete with him on the practice court. Like it's not like a Bones Highland who's trying to be competitive and, get Jamal motivated for things, because I feel like Jamal Murray's complex is that he can be kind of lazy and not get himself into shape in certain times of the season unless he's driven
Pushed.
by like trash talking and like a competitive edge sort of thing. He responds to that very well, And
I feel like that'll come in practice for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
You guys needed Jimmy Butler. That's who you needed.
Yeah. That would have been obviously a lot more expensive.
For more than one reason, that would have been sick, but yeah.
Yeah. But now instead of it being Reggie Jackson or Bones Highland that is, lacing up to go against him in practice, it's Russell Westbrook. And also I feel like Russell Westbrook is just the type of guy to make comments every time, Jamal is late to something or not early as, Russell Westbrook is to something like to a workout or a, team meeting or something. Like he will make those comments and kind of make it a competition. And it's just somebody that I feel like has the pedigree and the resume that will make Jamal respect, or like kind of give more credence to than just like Reggie Jackson, So I think that'll be good for the team. And also anytime it's like Jokic is being involved in personnel decisions, I feel like
he was?
Yeah. So the biggest voice apparently making this decision was Nikola Jokic.
So then he must have been very like the things that we like that people often gripe about Russ. And I think that Russ doesn't get enough credit how like he like molded into like a different type of. He wasn't full Russ. He was
last season. Yeah, I think he played a really good role.
And honestly, a little bit in LA. No, I said in LA. For the Lakers, too, he didn't do it as much, but I think he did it a lot for the Clippers of being like the energy bunny battery that we thought he could be for the Lakers, but he just did that in a lot less muted role for the Clippers. So, no, I didn't love it until I didn't love it until I thought about it a long time. I still don't love it, but I also don't know, like, because if Christian Brown is just KCP with like minimal drop off, then this is awesome because of how much it saves in terms of future stuff with the aprons and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And now I feel like it's like a big thing with it is our second unit. That's a thing that's been kind of the Achilles heel in Denver for the past like 4 years now. And this year, I feel like what's different about it is not necessarily that the sum of the parts are like, if you add up all the individual players on our second unit, it's not that we're that much better than lineups we've had in the past. It's just this lineup, the way it fits together, like there's a clear direction or there's a clear like, oh, this is how this lineup will play. Like this is the way they're going to play on offense. They're going to run the floor. Russell Westbrook is going to be the driving force of this offense in the second unit. And just having a direction or like a purpose with the second unit, I think it was like the biggest thing we were missing. Because like that's like kind of, I feel like the downside of having the Jokic system is when he's not in the game, everybody's like, what do we do now? Like,
no, if you have a backup Jokic, not that never really ever truly did, but they're just gone immediately. The second that they are able to be signed for any kind of money that's not backup money, they just are. They are just gone because having a center that can do what Jokic does, even at 25% capacity, is valuable beyond measure to some teams. So there's like no way that you could just have like, oh, we have a guy that does it, but just not as well. I also think that when your second best player is Jamal Murray, like the style that he plays also isn't super conducive to like being helpful to a second unit because it's just kind of like, you guys play defense, I'll score, just leave me alone type of like, it doesn't feel, that's like the extreme of it, but like,
he's like he's just trying to score an ISO basically is the offense.
It's not as inclusive as your second best player being like a true point guard. Like that could have been a totally different universe, but it's not. So I think that is a very good point that I didn't even like really truly think about the fact that like your second unit can be an actual unit as opposed to let's let Jokic breathe for 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Like it can be an actual like, oh, there's sets we run when Russ is out there. type of thing as opposed to just ISO with Jamal Reggie Jackson kind of gave you that, but
he was kind of similar to Jamal. He's just like a guy who's going to go try to get some buckets. Russ is like very clearly his purpose on a basketball court, especially at this point, is he gets to the rim a lot. Like, so he puts pressure on the defense, makes them collapse. So like there's actually movement and passing, like things you can get actual shots. Yeah, Missoula ball, exactly. Instead of just having like a very stagnant offense where it's like everybody's spaced 5 out, but we're not really forcing the defense to collapse because Reggie Jackson's just kind of dribbling it up the ball, and then he's going to like kind of take a nothing floater or mid-range jumper, you know? It's like that's kind of what the defense would prefer us to do. But having Russ...
It just depends on... Like, it'll be on Mike Malone to rotate the people around Russ correctly to make sure, because the Nuggets don't have like an insane amount of three-point shooting just everywhere. They have some that are good, but it's not just like point at the bench and there's a shooter. Some teams have that and the Nuggets are not that, but it'll definitely give your second. That's a great sentence you said earlier. Wanted to highlight this one. It'll give the second unit purpose. That's a great way to word it.
Yeah. Which I think has been the biggest downside with our second unit in previous years. So that's what I'm excited for.
Like always, since like Jokic became the guy.
Yeah, honestly. Because, like I was saying, like I feel like the downside to Jokic, having Jokic ball on your team is like when he's not in the game, everybody is just so programmed to play a certain way with him that when he's not there, it's like, what do we do now? Especially if there's not like another guy that's like, oh, I can do this, and that creates shots like this for other people.
And Russ will have no problem flipping the switch in his brain. There will be not a second of hesitation.
Exactly.
It will be Jokic is getting subbed out, the ball is inbounded to Russ, and the switch has already been flipped 5 minutes ago. He will be ready to do whatever.
Yeah, and I think
the more and more I think about this, I'm almost like excited almost to like see kind of like what it does.
I agree.
Because I think it makes the T-Wolves like that's the worst budget signing they could have had. Like I feel like the Wolves have an issue with it. Not an issue, but like because those minutes without Jokic, they just would run up the score. Now they're like, well, we can't they'll be able to match pace with us maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of the time the Cat minutes would correlate with the Jokic minutes because of what they were doing. So then this like makes the whole thing of like, does Russ get Rudy in foul trouble because he just like with no fear goes at the rim, and then that creates the whole thing of Rudy can't help in the rim the same way. No, this is...
And you're spaced 5 out because in that lineup, like you were just saying, you know, Nuggets don't have shooters everywhere. Our potential second unit, though, especially with Russ at the point guard, might be just 4 shooters with him because we're going to have Dario Saric as a stretch 5. And then
you guys got him too.
And then at our shooting guard, we're going to have one of the best shooters of the draft last year, Julian Strawther. He's going to be filling in because Christian Brown is not
bumped
the second.
Up.
Yeah, so he's kind of becoming the new Christian Brown.
And also, if it's not like a perfect second unit, Brown still might be out. Like there's obviously that weird shuffle that I can't ever wrap my brain around. Yeah,
which I feel like the stagger might be different this year. It might still be Jamal, and we'll have Russ and Jamal as the backcourt, and maybe Strawther will be the 3. Which I don't think would
be bad because it still gives you the shooter.
Exactly, and then Vlatko Čančar would be the option as the shooter at the 4 instead of having Peyton Watson in there, who's not a shooter. So, I don't think he's unplayable with Russ necessarily, but especially if you're trying to go against the T-Wolves for a second unit and where a lineup where you have Gobert, you're going to have to kind of force them to put Gobert on Russ because if they don't put him on Russ, then he's guarding a shooter.
Do they also have weird beef? Or is it just Draymond and Rudy Gobert?
Russ and Gobert?
If I don't know, something about it feels like they would, but I don't know if they...
I don't think they do, but they definitely have like the history of when Gobert's team plays Westbrook's team, a lot of times they do put Rudy on Russ. That is a thing that's happened quite a bit in the last 4 or 5 years because a lot of times it's Russ and 4 shooters and you don't want to put Gobert on a shooter. So they're like, hey, let's see what Gobert can do just guarding Russell Westbrook. When he just sags off of him and waits for him in the paint, basically, you know? Which it's gone back and forth in whether or not that's a good idea for Gobert's team because Russ has made him pay and where he can, he's allowed so much runway to get downhill. It's like
It
kind
makes
of
it
over.
even.
Or
No
like
matter
you
how
said,
good you are at defending the rim, it is Russell Westbrook,
with a full head of steam.
a Hall of Famer basketball player.
Yeah.
With a lot of skill still in the tank.
And athletic ability.
As long as he doesn't shoot, it's fine. Don't ask him to shoot all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a move that has definitely grown on me a lot. I'm more excited for it now. And also,
You got me excited.
Yeah, the Jokic cosign on it was the other detail I wanted to zoom in on a little bit more. Like just him, I just love the idea of him choosing a guy that or having input in a decision like this, because we've never really seen that happen before. At least there's never been very much reporting around Jokic being involved in roster decisions. But this time it's a very well documented or well reported thing that happened. Jokic and Russ apparently talked to each other about, the situation, about how things could work. And Jokic went to the front office and was like, I want that guy.
Well, that's even more okay.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready. This could be nuts.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say nuts, but this will be good.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for the point where Lakers, come on. It's not great. It doesn't feel great to be in the West and be the Lakers, where you have these great assets, but they're almost untradeable and they're aging.
Mm-hmm.
It's worrisome because LeBron has evaded Father Time with the best of them, but he's going to come a knocking soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think LeBron has even said, in the Olympics, I feel like I've heard this. He's been like, guys, I can't do this it was after the South Sudan game. I can't do this every game.
Yeah.
We all got to step up. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even more leaning into that, what we said last episode, that he's father figure, even though that feels weird. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess to wrap up the Russell Westbrook stuff, I'm going to end it off with a little bit of a joke. I heard that there's some people saying that this was a move made by Russ, he's wanting to go to Denver so he can sabotage Jokic from passing his triple doubles record. I don't think this is very serious, actual, people assuming or people trying to piece that together. I don't know how serious that is, but it's a funny thought, at least, because
it's just funny that it came up.
Yeah.
And also, I think the funniest stuff is because of what the public perception of Russell Westbrook is, you believe it 10%. There's a little part of you that's do you think he would do that? Is there a world that he would do that?
Yeah.
And because of the public perception of Russell Westbrook, your brain wants to think maybe, and that makes it even funnier.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, for sure. So there's, between the two of them, they have 329 triple doubles.
How many triple doubles have there been in NBA history?
I'm not sure. Let me look that up, I guess.
Do they have a double digit percent of all triple doubles? Are they shockingly close to a double digit percent?
Honestly, that's a very interesting thought. I want to find that.
I feel there's no way they're 10%. There's no way. 3,000 triple, maybe.
They're 329.
So that means there's been 39 or 3,300 triple doubles in NBA history for them to be 10%.
Oh, yeah, that's what you were saying?
That's the math I was doing, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find this. This is just something that I guess nobody's ever thought about before. But I do want to find it. It is a weird
thing.
But yeah, so I don't know how many there have been total, but I will try to find that outside of the podcast and flash that up on screen if you're watching this. Maybe bring it up in another episode. Who knows? But regardless, it's wild to have that many triple doubles between two teammates on the same team. That's what teammates means. That was kind of redundant. But so I guess moving on from Russ, I don't think there was anything else we needed to go into there. Moving on to other big names that have been moved. DeMar DeRozan, I'd say, is the next marquee, probably even bigger than the Russ move, because of the current status of the player. But this is a show where, one of the hosts is a Nuggets fan, so I figured we would lead off with that one. Because DeRozan to the Kings is a move that I have a lot less thoughts on. I'm not like in love with it. I'm also not against it. I'm kind of in between on it. It's like, I think that the Kings, overall, I think it's a good move, because I think they're just going to be a little bit more competitive, a little bit
they
of
just
a harder
committed
team.
to, we are not going to play defense.
Yeah, that's the downside.
We will Pacers it. We will score 140 a game, but you will probably score your season high also.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm. But according to a number of voters last year, that they have an all defensive big down there, filling things up. So they should be pretty okay there. But
I guess.
Yeah. I think Keegan Murray is going to be a guy that is going to be guarding like the best player on the other team a lot of nights, which it's like
doesn't feel great. It's not the worst, but it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, like he's a pretty good defensive wing, but that's never been his like main strength as like a lockdown.
You don't go into in a playoff series and be like, we're gonna be all right, boys.
Yeah.
Keegan's got KD or Booker. You don't feel great about that.
Yeah, but he's just the default because he's literally the only guy in that lineup that you can call a good defensive wing.
He's the only one on that team that should have a defensive badge in 2K.
And I don't even know
Fox and steals, if that is one, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, but that's a different type of defense, I guess. De'Aaron Fox isn't really necessarily putting the clamps on a lot of people in the backcourt, but
I do not think so.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they have Keon Ellis also, but he's like a shorter backcourt player, so he's probably not your best option in guarding like LeBron, But yeah, so that's where we'll probably see Keegan Murray have to be used quite a bit. And outside of that, they don't have a lot else to go to. So that's why the Kings, I feel like, are not like a threat to win the title or anything. That's for sure. But I think they'll win a lot of close games, having DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox.
If games are close, I would be terrified of the Kings. That's like their one thing. Like, you want to mess around and let this be a 5-point game with 3 minutes left? Do we got news for you? This is a problem for you.
Yeah, so that's going to be an issue, and I think that will be definitely something that will elevate their already pretty scary offense. So that's, I guess, the extent of my thoughts on that move. I did want to just shout out that memeable moment of Vivek. I don't remember how to say his last name, but the owner of the Kings, when he introduced at like the introductory press conference for DeMar, he was like, went on the spiel about how all the teams wanted DeMar, like, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, everybody wanted DeMar, but you know what? They're nothing like us, is what he said, trying to quote Kendrick Lamar.
And he just stumbled into the gates.
And which the reason why he's making that reference, I guess, is because DeMar DeRozan is in the music video for Not Like Us. So
because he is
from Compton.
He is a Compton guy, and there's a lot of like cool stories about DeMar DeRozan, like how he got out of that area, and like the gangs in the area were like, if you mess with this kid, that person specifically is punished by just everyone. Because he was denied entry into gangs. Yeah. Because they're like, no, you're good and can get out. It's cool. There's like lots of videos on YouTube of people that are way more educated in that realm than I will ever be, just because of pretty blatantly clear reasons. Anyway, I think that's good. We can keep on moving, probably.
Yeah. To the next move, we got Dejounte Murray. He got traded from the Atlanta Hawks to the New Orleans Pelicans, which another move that like ultimately I think is good, but it's not like a perfect, like there's still lots of work to be done to refine and figure out the Pelicans roster. Namely probably Brandon Ingram probably being moved eventually.
Moved for Cat.
Yeah, just somebody who can play center, because they don't have like any of those right now. They lost Valanciunas. They traded away Larry Nance. So
Robert Williams?
Yeah, the Blazers have more than they need of centers.
By a lot. They also decided to draft one, which good old the Dominating stock that I purchased is not doing too hot right now. Mm-hmm. Well, it hasn't been since I purchased it because I bought it because of his back tattoo because it was funny. But doesn't feel great when your team has a top 10 pick and they're like, what position could we go get? Let's get the only position where we have like a young guy that's supposed to be good. Let's pick that one.
And we have 2 of them, really. Already.
1.5 of them.
What do you mean?
I feel like Time Lords, the injuries still scare me.
Oh, yeah. But he's still
a human. He's a full person.
And a starting level center.
He is a very much starting level center. Come back, please. That's all.
Yeah, so.
Hey, imagine that if that's our drop off. KP's like, I need more money. Shake hands. Thank you for the 3 titles, KP. And then it's Time Lord. Anyway,
coming back?
Enough Celtics.
So 3 years from now?
Yeah. Or 2 years from now.
Oh, because you're going to three-peat?
I just said a number.
Yeah.
Because that's confidence.
Confidence personified. Yeah, so, but anyways, this move, DeJounte Murray going to the Pelicans, I feel like it definitely helps a lot with figure out the Pelicans like backcourt, because now it's not everything being placed on CJ McCollum being like the point guard, and the closing units and everything. Like I feel like putting CJ more as like the off-ball guard, which is where he is kind of always belonged. Like, that's just his role throughout his career. I think that's ideal. And giving DeJounte, honestly, a team that he can be the actual point guard on is also good for him. So I think it helps a lot of the parties involved. It's just now the Pelicans roster looks a bit funky because of how they had to not re-sign Valanciunas to make this deal work with the money. And then also Larry Nance, who is their backup center behind Valanciunas, they had to move him in this deal as well to make it happen. So
yeah.
So it just looks a little bit funky, and they're going to have to figure out how to get a center to play for them. So, and preferably not one that's just like a free agent. Obviously you want to get like a actual starting level center to play for you. So that's going to be a big detail there. And outside of that, I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. I think the Hawks I don't know. The Hawks are not in a great situation, but
I've already aired my I don't know why we ride or die with Trae Young, because our team is better when he's hurt. Shockingly consistently.
Yeah. I feel like a big part of that is Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's another person who might be on the move eventually with trades. I do want to check on his contract, how much time he has left on it. I feel like he's probably expiring after this next season. That's just the way it feels, because it's been like 4 years since he's gotten to Atlanta. But no, he has signed another contract since he's gotten to Atlanta, it looks like. So this upcoming season, he still has 2 years after that. So the 26-27 season is a team option on a $16 million deal. So yeah, he's on a descending contract is what the term for it is. But yeah, he was kind of like their backup especially before they had DeJounte. He was like their backup point guard, essentially. Like he becomes like the point guard of the team when Trae Young is gone. Mm-hmm. And that has worked pretty well. But yeah, I think it's just because they're playing more inclusive, and also they had more talent around him at that point. I feel like they have less now, like without John Collins, and I guess they still have DeJounte Hunter. They got rid of Sadiq Bey. They got rid of AJ Griffin. They just didn't pick up the team option on him, which I thought was kind of surprising. So I'm not sure what the Hawks' direction is, but they have a lot of people deciding it, because they have a lot of front office members now, or like faces. Like they have Landry Fields, Kyle Korver, both those guys is like front office guys making decisions, and then Quinn Snyder is also.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. What is going on?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of smart cooks, but that's just like a lot of Brain power. It's a big brain trust.
Apparently, during the draft stuff, like there was a lot of people, a lot of like the top recruits were when they were communicating with Atlanta, like especially Alex Sarr, like when his agent was communicating with Atlanta, like they were like, "Oh, we want a promise from the person who is making the decision with Atlanta for the Hawks," because it seems like the Hawks don't know who's actually going to be making the call, like who's in charge.
Yeah.
You know? That was the vibes of what I've heard about the Hawks front office. But they were all really happy and high-fiving each other when they picked Reece Shea, so in the draft room video. So hopefully they were right there. I don't think they will be, personally, but we will see. So yeah, that can do it with that move as well. And I guess to finish off, we could probably just... Oh yeah, there was one thing before we get into Olympic stuff. There's one quick thing I wanted to
make this a shorter one and hit the Olympics, like record on like Tuesday before the game Wednesday or something.
We can, yeah.
Instead of making it, because I feel like we could have a whole nother hour on the Olympics, and that could be getting to a long length.
I feel like you probably have more thoughts on the Olympics than I do, but yeah, we can do that for sure.
There was some pretty like moments.
Yeah, no, there definitely was. I feel like
breaking them down, and also as we get closer. I don't know. It is up to you. We can do whatever.
I'm all for having a shorter episode because it makes my life easier in editing. So, the last thing that we will touch on then is something that we had a pretty good segment about last episode that I will like to make into a clip here pretty soon, which was the Jalen Brunson deal that he took a lot of, he left a lot of money on the table, $113 million to be exact. So apparently this is something I heard from Chris Vernon, which added into like the, how we uncovered, I put in air quotes, that Jalen Brunson's agent is the son of Leon Rose, who is the GM, or president of the Knicks.
Which we gave him his flowers, right? Like we had like a whole...
Who gave who his flowers?
We did. We gave Jalen Brunson his flowers.
Yeah.
For being a bro. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was like the meat of that segment. For sure.
Okay, I thought so. Okay.
Yeah. But we uncovered also that, the connection with not only obviously that Jalen's dad, Rick Brunson, is a assistant coach and was already an assistant coach with the Knicks before Jalen signed there, but also Leon Rose and Sam Rose are father and son, Sam Rose being Jalen Brunson's agent. But another thing I just heard from a podcast I was listening to today with Chris Vernon, it was the mismatch from The Ringer. He just dropped something that I feel like I didn't know before, but maybe I'd heard it before, that Leon Rose is actually Jalen Brunson's godfather. So it's,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So not only do they know each other, they're like legitimately buddies.
Yeah. They're like family, basically. I'm guessing Leon Rose and Rick Brunson must have...
been really close.
Yeah.
Are really close.
Exactly. They're still coworkers. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, Jalen Brunson has 3 of his best friends as teammates from Villanova.
Cool. That's wild. That's like a thing business that doesn't feel real. Hold on. My uncle, he's got kind of a cool job. Trust me, he can get you a job.
Mm-hmm.
You play basketball. It's not that big of a deal. It'll be cool. We'll have fun. It'll just be like college again. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
They walk in. It's literally MSG. Like, what's going on? Like, it could be a movie. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Knicks just have a lot of connections. Around. It's like Jalen Brunson is kind of like the center of this web,
Instead of 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah. Yeah. So
right, isn't it Kevin Bacon? 7 degrees or
something? 6 degrees.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Mm-hmm. Is the saying, which I think this is not the first time we've had a aside about that on this podcast, honestly.
Probably not, because it's always running through my brain.
But yeah, so that can be it for today's episode. We can wrap this one up. This is probably the shortest episode we've had in like 6 months, probably, which I think is pretty good,
It's pretty good.
It's a like normal podcast length. I feel like this is kind of the length that most people are aiming for when they're doing podcasts. So hopefully this will be a more digestible one for everybody and one that I can get out in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. Go do all the things I said at the beginning, the Patreon, buy me a coffee, all of those things. If you want more content from us on a more consistent basis in the future, then go ahead and do that for us. That would be much appreciated. Rate the show on Spotify or wherever you're listening, and follow the feed as well. Subscribe on YouTube, all of the places, and just submit something to the Hoop Theory mailbag at hooptheory.mailbag@gmail.com if you want us to read and react to some of your thoughts.
Also, to Luke Beal, I don't know how to write your address, so it got returned to me. It is in the mail with the correct address. I misspelled things and it got returned to sender, so
okay.
My bad on that. I apologize. I'm writing you a little handwritten note apology, but your jersey, I can go grab it. No, this one, never mind. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, yeah.
I can't. Should I? I don't know.
It's fine. But so it's not mailed right now because you are correcting
because I'm a doofus. I'm a stupid boy.
It's okay.
I also just realized that I'm giving him my address. It won't matter. He's a cool guy, probably.
Yeah. I don't think there's much he can do with that.
I didn't think about that, really.
I don't know if there's anything you need to worry about there, but
probably not. I don't know. People are crazy. Not saying Luke's crazy, but who knows?
Yeah, he seems like a pretty good guy. But
I mean, he picked a sick jersey.
Yeah, he did.
I'm gonna go grab it.
Yeah, there it is. Jalen Williams, number 6. Last Thunder, number 6 that will ever exist.
Huh?
I said his last Thunder, number 6 that will ever exist, which is another relic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is pretty slick.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Sorry for the audio listeners, but Jacob was just holding up a jersey for everybody to look at.
It's a Jalen Williams, Arkansas Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
Jersey. That is their city edition from this past year.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, so without further ado, thank you for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Stay happy, stay healthy, and we will talk to you guys next episode.
Peace! I'm sorry, I got distracted.